Accepted without even a thought about what the weather in this part of God's kingdom looks like. When I left Texas last Wednesday, can y'all hear me? When I left Texas last Wednesday, the high was 73. So I'm struggling with this extremes of weather here. I'm going to ask you to all pray that the storm that's predicted will allow me to get home Wednesday morning. But the hospitality that I have received in this place warms the cockles of my heart. And for an old girl from Texas, I don't have a clue what a cockle is. And so I just want to say to everyone on South Whidbey Island, thank you. Thank you so much for your hospitality. It's always wonderful to be in the company of people of all ages, all backgrounds and experiences who gather to remember the life and the legacy of Dr. King. He would have been 83 had he not been assassinated in 1968. And like the assassination of President Kennedy, I know exactly where I was when I heard the news that Dr. King had been shot. 24 years old, driving down the freeway in Los Angeles, and number one son was sitting over in the passenger seat. We didn't have seat belts or child safety seats back in those days. I was pregnant with my daughter. I cried so hard that I had to pull over. And Stevie, bless his heart, did the best that a little tyke could do to comfort me in my sorrow. I was devastated. My dreams for a compassionate society and a just world ended abruptly with his assassination. Our country, our world, lost a leader whose focus was on my humanity, our humanity, on racial justice, equality, and reconciliation in hopes of transforming our society. This afternoon we gather here because we want to realize Dr. King's dream of a beloved community in our lifetime. I know I do. We want to live in communities where core values include, at a minimum, respect, civility, a willingness to listen, to learn, and to be transformed. What are the core values that are shared in this community? Think about it. What would our community look like or feel like if agreed upon values were operative during our civic engagement? Not that we should ever, God forbid, all think alike or agree on anything or everything. But if we could engage one another based upon values that build up our humanity rather than tearing it down, we would be so much closer to realizing the dream. Some people only connect Dr. King's legacy to the struggle of Americans of African descent. However, his vision of a beloved community was so broad. His dream was more inclusive than most people realize. In 1967, he addressed issues such as the income gap between cultural groups, double-digit unemployment, the widening education gap, and the lack of economic and political power for those who are trying to survive in our communities. Does any of that sound familiar? Of course, these are the same exact issues that we face today, especially the ever-widening economic gap. One of the things that the Occupy movement is trying to highlight. Yes, how many inroads have been made. I was able to travel here using interstate transportation to arrive on last Wednesday and have wonderful accommodations at Carolyn's Attic. That's only because 50 years ago, all sorts and conditions of people risked their lives and their livelihoods so that I could travel freely without impediment across state lines and stay in a bed and breakfast without fear of rejection or harm. I am so very grateful for the struggles and the activism and the courage of the freedom riders. Now I want you to turn around, I mean really turn around and look at the people in this space. Now, people have to agree that this book is pretty homogenous. I couldn't think of a better way to say it. It's kind of alike. It's most a few. So the issues in this location are not black and white. And that was the fun that was intended. So we have to be creative about identifying who in our community has been left out of the dream. The beloved community in this location might exclude people because of class, languages spoken, political ideology, or lack of housing. Consider this. When we dream our own dreams, and then we stay there, where we are all comfortable, familiar, and safe, we know what to say and how to behave. When we begin to believe that our dream is the norm, the reality, it stops us from working toward the dream of Dr. King. So my challenge to this community is to begin to have conversations about what must be done to fulfill the dream in a location where most people look alike. And here's some suggestions. Heighten your awareness. At every event, every meeting, every conversation, be aware of who is missing. People who are indigenous to this land, non-English speakers, even our neighbors who are struggling in the ever-shrinking middle class. For as people with privilege and entitlement, power and access, it is incumbent on us to take the risk and reach out to those who have no voice, and for most of the time are invisible to our eyes. Always question the sanitized history that we have been taught in our public, private, and home schools. There's an old saw that says the group who wins the war writes the history, which means that a whole lot of the contributions of many, many people have been intentionally left out of our schoolwork. I invite you to be inquisitive. Be curious about different ethnic groups, their experiences and cultures. There is so much more to learn from other people, regardless of what we think. We do not know everything. I know that's hard for you to believe, but we don't know everything. We only know a very small part of the history that we grew up in. In order to get the whole picture, we've got to interact with people who can give us their pieces. Third, we need to practice what we preach. When dealing with political, cultural, and/or faith differences, we must demonstrate the core values that we embrace. we must treat people with respect, speak in civil tones, and be willing to listen to their truths, which very well may be different from your truths, but they come from a different history, a different experience. Before, speak up. I really mean that. I want you to find your voice, which has somehow been lost in the cacophony of sounds that go on in this society that we live in. And I want you, when you see injustice or oppression, to speak up, especially when it occurs in the boardroom, at the country club, in the officers club, or in cubicles where policies and procedures are being drafted that directly affect people who may or may not look like you, who have life experiences that are very different from yours, people who have been ignored and overlooked, pushed to the edges of our communities, people who don't have a voice in the decisions that are made which directly affect their lives. People that I'm talking about, each and every day they wake up, is a struggle. It's a struggle for anybody that we label as different, the other, a stranger, or an outsider. And to paraphrase Professor Oakley Hendricks, we, those of us with power and privilege, must be moved to struggle each and every day, each in our own way, to recreate the kind of world in which the children of our neighbors, whether they're seen or unseen, can have every good that we seek, know what we demand for our own children. So this part is to my Anglo brothers and sisters. You must not sit idly by, pat yourselves on the back, and say what a good job you've done, because the dream has yet to be fulfilled. And you are co-workers with us in making that dream become a reality. So the challenge I leave with you is for you to be willing to be able to engage in courageous conversations with each other. I invite you to begin to work on your issues. Y'all worked enough on my issues. And believe me, you got some issues. Issues that need to be discussed and understood about the white culture. And you must have these conversations before you take the risk and reach out to those you want to struggle alongside of. So I have for you 4 resources. The first one you can find online. My daughter said, don't stay on the internet, so I'm having to practice online. It's written by Dr. Peggy McIntosh, White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. It also talks about male privilege. The second one is written by a young man at the University of Texas who is from North Dakota. He says it's the whitest state in the union. It's called The White Heart of Whiteness, Confronting Race, Racism, and White Privilege. And these books will be available after we finish today. His name is Robert Jensen. And the third one, which people who come into St. James are asked to read, are invited to read because they've never been in a multicultural community, is written by the Reverend Eric Law. The Wolf Shall Dwell with the Lamb, a spirituality for leadership in a multicultural community. And the last one I'm sure you're familiar with, and you've all used it in your youth groups or in your adult forums, comes from the Diocese of Olympia. It's a pack of cards that talk about how to share your story. And it begins to ask questions about your relationship with the divine, how people have helped you, and you know people of other ethnic or cultural groups. I got this from you guys. Those resources, I think, will be invaluable in understanding how you benefit from the color of your skin without asking, and most of the time, without even realizing that you have received special treatment and accommodations. Dr. King's dream will become a reality when each of us, individually and all of us collectively, do the hard work, the introspection, and take responsibility for the actions required on our part to make sure that the dream is fulfilled. Now this is the short version. We're encouraged to love one another, believe in each other, listen, learn, and be transformed by someone else. And always be aware of opportunities to be courageous, to find and use that voice. In closing, I want to share with you the third stanza of a hymn that I learned as a child entitled the Negro National Anthem. Now, the tradition in my culture is that when you hear the first few bars of this hymn played, or you hear the lyrics of the song sung, you are to sing. But this afternoon, allow me to pray. Pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us unto the light, keep us forever on the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Shadow beneath Thy hand may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. My brothers and sisters, our work to fulfill the dream must continue. I thank you for your attention.